Hi, thanks for joining us for this episode of Doug Has Questions. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please like, subscribe. We're available if you want to watch us on YouTube, or if you just want to listen to the podcast version on Apple Podcast and Spotify. And each episode goes live on Thursday morning. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we're happy to have you listening. Welcome to this edition of Doug Has Questions. Today my guest is longtime Haines resident Tom Andriesen. First started coming to Haines when he was a kid, and besides being volunteer fire department EMT, longtime employee at Lutech Lumber. So Thanks for joining us, Tom.
Yeah, great to be here.
I'm sure there's many other things that I didn't include in that introduction, but hopefully we'll get to them as we have our conversation here.
Yeah, no, that's a good chunk of it.
A good chunk of it? All right. Yeah. Glad I got most of it.
Yeah, in fact, it just occurred to me it'll be 36 years in September being at Lutech Lumber.
36 years?
Yeah. So it's...
Have you told Chip that at 4 more years here, there needs to be a pretty big party?
Well, when the invoice number goes to $1 million and kicks over, that's when I'm going to retire.
That's when you're going to retire.
Yeah, we're at 96, 960 some odd thousand. But anyway,
so it's coming.
It's coming.
It's coming.
So.
All right. Well, before we start talking about your upcoming retirement,
right.
let's go back a couple of years. What was your childhood like? Where'd you start off life?
Seattle. Born there and lived in the suburbs there, Mercer Island, and Dad taught at a community college and teaching mechanical drawing, technical engineering drafting, and for primarily feeding people into the Boeing system of engineering. And so with summers off, we would go exploring, and Dad got the idea in 1970 that we should come up and check out Alaska, because he'd been born and raised in Seattle too, and there's always a pretty tight connection between Alaska and the Pacific Northwest. So so we started coming up here for summers and toured around the state for like 2 years, two summers, and went on up to Fairbanks and Anchorage and Dawson City over in the Yukon and stuff. And Dad really wanted to try and figure out some way to live here, and so we they got some property here in Haines. They really liked it when they'd been coming through, and so we built a place here. Dad and I we assembled it in our yard actually in Seattle, which kind of we were not the typical neighbors in resident,
So you guys are prefabbing it in Mercer Island?
Yeah, on Mercer
Island.
And
then shipping it up here?
Yep, took it apart.
Right.
And then reassembled it here. So that's how. So in 72 we wound up starting to spend summers here in Haines. And it was kind of a fun childhood, having winters, being a snowbird for one, being able to
instead of waiting until you retired,
right.
You started off as a snowbird.
So we obviously Dad was teaching, so we'd go down there and then come back up and start hanging out here. And he started developing his art. He was a very talented draftsman, and then started doing pen and ink drawings, and he got very involved with, or very interested in, the whole gold rush history and stuff, and so we'd poke around here and go up to Porcupine and go up to Whitehorse, and he'd start taking pictures to then do pen and ink drawings. And
so that kind of started after he started coming to Haines. Doing the art part of it. Before it was all just drafting, huh?
Yep. It was much more. He worked at Boeing back in the 50s, and then the Seattle Community College system started this job placement program and in the 60s, and so that was his primary thing, was to develop that. But he started doing the art, and then we were trying to figure out a way to sell it, and so we wound up making taking his art and putting it into things for the gift shops around the state. So we'd go around to the stores and sell. It would be tote bags with his designs on it, and note cards, and the Alaska mosquito trap, and just kind of schmaltzy stuff like that. But the idea was it was actually made in Alaska, not made in Taiwan, and we were busy doing that for several decades, and I've still got quite a few of his prints. And of course, we in like 1982 we built the gallery on Second and Willard, which is now called Uniquely Alaska. But he and I built that place.
That's right. That was your guys' first, wasn't it?
Yeah. One of the funniest things was I was had gone south for my senior year of high school, and they were still up here in September, and they called me up and they said, "Yeah, we bought a piece of property downtown. We're gonna build a gallery." And it's like, wow, we'd already had. At our property there on Beach Road, we had the workshop we had converted partly into a gallery, but the location was kind of out of town and stuff like that. So I said, great. Where'd you buy what property is this? And he goes, behind Hauser's. And I don't know if you remember, but the parts place was the post office.
Yeah.
But then that road, which is Willard, actually just curved and went through what is now the parking lot of Hauser's up to Main Street.
Yep.
And I said, Dad, why'd you buy down there? And he goes, well, I got good information that they're going to be pushing 2nd Avenue down from Main Street to the Haines Highway. Next summer. It's like, oh, okay,
yeah.
No problem. So sure enough, we start building the gallery and get it opened up, and here comes the road work to put.
So what year was that they were putting the 2nd Avenue all the way through to the highway?
I believe it was 82. Might have been 81. Right, very early 80s.
Yeah.
So yeah, but we ran primarily by that time I was going to college and stuff like that. So, but summers I'd come back up and help them, and then also drive tour bus for the Haines Streetcar Company, Alaska sightseeing. It was kind of a fun thing to do, and
So besides working when you're in Haines in the summertime as a kid, before you're that age, was it all about the business? So when you're up here, were you just driving around selling stuff, or did you go out, getting out hiking, fishing, any of that?
We would just go. We'd do some hiking, with my friends from here. We'd go hiking and just do the typical hangout, go have a bonfire someplace, stuff like that. And Dad was into fishing, so we'd always hit Chilkoot Lake a lot for Dolly Vardens. That was primarily what we would do. And I tended to always just throw the lures into the water because the fish gods never were good to me.
Were never kind to you?
Dad would catch, Dolly Vardens left and right, and I'd just snag everything. And so I would just toss them in and call it a day. But yeah, it was kind of a fun way to grow up. And we'd go up into the Yukon and poke around up there and just kind of check things out. And
what was that like for a difference? Because you're growing up on Mercer Island, which is right in the middle of. I mean, Mercer Island isn't itself, but you're right in a metropolitan area with Seattle and everything.
Yeah.
Mercer Island High School, I'm sure, was fairly large, and then you come up to Alaska and the Haines in the summertime.
Yeah,
it's a pretty distinct difference between those two.
It was. It was. I'd have my friends down there that couldn't relate to what I was doing up here, and then I had friends up here that couldn't relate to down there, but Mercer Island is now a quite well-to-do area. At that time, it was still very much being developed. Our neighborhood, my dad had built the house. It was kind of a serial builder too. We built like 3 or 4 homes as I was growing up, and on the island, and we would build it, and move to the next one. And but we were definitely the odd neighbor in the neighborhood because. Most everybody, just went to Sun Valley for a vacation or, go camping in Rainier National Park or something like that. And here we go, loading up the truck full of stuff for the business and trucking up to Alaska, or putting it onto the ferry, a trailer full of stuff up to the ferry, onto the ferry to take it up here. So
Did you guys usually drive up, or like you said, taking the ferry most of the time?
We would drive up, yeah. And sometimes to Prince Rupert, and then we did the Alaska Highway the first time in '71 in Winnebago, and that was it was a challenge. A lot of mud.
The Alaska Highway wasn't quite what it is today back in '71, was it?
It's way better, and so yeah, we would primarily drive it. Through high school, I would get on the ferry in Seattle at that time.
Before it moved up to Bellingham.
Pier Terminal 49, I think it was a 48. And they'd send me up, and I'd open up the buildings and get things going while Dad and Mom continued to work down there. And they'd come up a few weeks later, but they'd just put me on the ferry and give me some money for the food and get up here, and I'd hang out and get things going, and they'd follow up shortly. But later on, I had a pickup truck and would haul stuff up here, and they would also run a truck up too. But yeah.
So what did your mom do?
She was a housewife for part of the time. Was a librarian at our grade school when we were there on Mercer Island. Pretty much, she was the one that really kept Dad organized. Ran all the book work, kept him focused on what he was very creative. In fact, I'm surprised our neighbors didn't just call the cops on us sometimes, because my dad belonged to this group of guys that were they would dress up as clowns and go to all these parades around the Pacific Northwest, and they designed all these goofy clown cars. And my uncle was a crazy good mechanic, and they had like a fire engine that could spray water from every port on it, and have a fake engine drop out after a smoke bomb goes out and stuff like that. And so our front yard on Mercer Island, this quaint little suburb of Seattle, had 4 or 5 of these clown cars parked in it all the time. Had a bathtub that was a go-kart. The train that's at the state fair was actually from that group.
Okay.
And my dad, we were involved with the fair in the 70s, and that group of guys, Dad kind of stepped away from it because he was up here, now, and couldn't really partake in all that fun and games. And so he said, to the fair, it's like, hey, we've got this train that we don't really need anymore. We'd run around our neighborhood. In fact, that's the first vehicle I learned to drive was that train.
Was the train?
And we just give all the kids around town a ride at the church, picnics or stuff that we'd have there. We'd just pull up with that, and the kids would hop on, and we'd run them around the area. And so yeah, that came from that group, and it got loaded on the ferry, and we picked it up here and drove it into town, and it's been here ever since. So
I have memories of your dad driving that train in the parade, and he'd drive it in the parade, and then also at the fairgrounds. A lot of times you'd see Pete driving that.
Yeah, he liked doing that even when he was older, and so, but yeah, so yeah, our neighborhood there in Seattle was always went, oh yeah, that's just Pete again, so that Andreessen family, I don't know. So, but so we would we were involved with the fair in the 70s, and a lot of times it was every Saturday there was always a work party there, and with hamburgers at the end, and I don't know, one of the projects was just pouring the concrete floor in Harriet Hall, getting that done, and building the food booths and the main stage, and so we did a fair amount of that. And
one of my earliest memories with my dad was watching him while he was painting Harriet Hall, because he had built Harriet Hall and I think the barn, and then he had this commercial sprayer.
Yep.
He's out there, and I just remember him. I don't know exact words, but I know he's often frustrated because the sprayer wasn't working correctly. So
there's a lot of square footage on those buildings.
There's a lot of square footage on those buildings, and I'm just messing around in the wood chips or whatever. Just like, all right, well, at that, I was young enough. There wasn't anything I can do to help him.
Right.
But I was just kind of hanging out while he was up and down the ladder spraying, putting the first coat of paint on those buildings.
Yeah, that was. I was like you. Quite often I was almost too young to do anything, but you're always kind of there. You're into what's going on, even if it's picking up scrap wood or collecting nails to straighten out and use again, which we did that a fair amount.
Right there with you.
So,
you're not throwing those away.
Yeah, no, those can be used again. So
I forget what it was, what project we had going on, and if the contractors, if they dropped a nail, they were just leaving it and everything. Yeah. And I was going around and I'm like, oh my God, we cannot do this. When I was a kid, I was like, no, if you drop a nail, you're picking that up and using it. We're not going to go buy another one. You're just, we're using all those. But now with the rate you're paying them and the cost of the nail, it's cheaper to just leave them. But for my whole childhood, my grandpa and my dad, and they're like, you drop a nail and you just grabbed another one. I was like, that's not the way that worked.
No, it's, It that has changed quite a bit nowadays. But,
yes, it has.
Yeah, but no, I have fond memories of doing stuff at the fair, and of course, then when the fair was actually going on, we were all involved with doing whatever we needed to get done with it, and so
what different besides the construction? What other things? Because you had an accident out there. How old were you when you lost your thumb?
12. Yeah.
You were 12.
12. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, 12. 1976.
1976.
Yeah. So, no.
I thought you were older than that when that happened.
No. Everybody volunteers. I mean, that's the thing is this town is great, but that everybody does volunteer for these things. And so I was running one of the rides and had been working there all day and was getting kind of tired, and I leaned up to brace myself, and my glove got caught in the gears, and I couldn't. It pulled my hand in and took my thumb and my index finger off, and that kind of soured me about the fair for a while.
I wonder why, Tom.
It took me probably about 10 years to actually go back into the fairgrounds. It took a while, and but there again, Stan Jones was at the clinic, and he got things bandaged back together. Leighton Bennett flew me down. Never did charge my folks for it down to Bartlett.
Really?
Yeah, it was. Like I say, this town's pretty cool. So, but after 13 surgeries over 9 months, I did get a thumb.
13 surgeries.
Yeah. It.
Did you end up going to Seattle for some of that too?
Yeah,
so it's get a little bit in Juneau and then back home.
Right. They just in Juneau they just kind of closed things up and did grafts to cover things up, and then I spent probably a month at Children's Orthopedic, and then it'd be like 3 weeks and they'd do another surgery, and then another 4 weeks and do another surgery, and it was a kind of a novel or a very new procedure of taking a bone from elsewhere and making a rigid thumb, and then grabbing skin from elsewhere to.
So you're what, 6th, 7th grade?
7th grade.
7th grade.
Yeah. So.
And just had an industrial accident going into your 7th grade. And now you got 13 surgeries in junior high school.
Yeah.
What were your friends thinking? Is like, we told you shouldn't go to Alaska.
They were pretty good about it. There was a few that kind of went, that's kind of weird. But.
Did you make up a cool story? They got in a fight with a bear or something?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Perfect.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect.
Yeah. You should have seen the bear.
Yeah.
Then you tell them the real story, and they go, "Oh yeah, okay, right."
Yeah.
But no, So, but that's hard to believe. It's quite a few years ago. So.
Yeah, I thought that was early 80s for some reason. No, I don't know why I thought that was.
It wasn't.
So the fair was just getting started then.
Yeah, pretty much.
Fairgrounds hadn't been going that long by 76.
Like 3 years, maybe?
Yeah.
4 years?
That was early on.
Because I think your dad actually kind of got my dad interested.
Probably, he had a way of roping people into projects that he was
Right.
interested in. I wouldn't put that past him.
Yeah. So
it's my dad's fault that you lost your thumb.
there you go.
Yeah.
No,
we'll blame him.
it's totally my fault. I should never have been probably working that long, but
Well, even today, would they let a 12-year-old run one of these mechanical rides?
that's just it.
No, they wouldn't.
But it was common.
But it was common.
Yeah. You know, you could take your three-wheeler any place you wanted, you know, or, you know, at 8 years of age practically. And
I think I was 9, maybe 10. My dad had a Bobcat, and if he was doing some work or something, he'd take the truck and he'd have me drive the Bobcat because he didn't have a trailer for it.
Yeah.
So like the Heinmiller's pit.
Okay.
He'd get gravel and he had this flatbed. He needed the Bobcat over there, so he's like, "Here you go, meet me over there." I couldn't hit the pedals,
Right.
So I'd have to stand up and stomp on them to raise the bucket, and then I'd go and I'm just using the levers to steer.
Yeah.
And I'd get over there, and then he'd hop in. He'd do all the fun stuff, and he's okay, drive it to Retha's or drive it to wherever I was going to go.
Yep.
I had to do the boring stuff,
Right.
And then once we got there, he got to do the fun stuff and level things off, and
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that and police cars would go by, nobody'd say a thing,
I mean, we were running around in the back of the pickup trucks, you know. That was just what you did, you know, and
how did more of us not get seriously injured as kids?
yeah, we survived somehow, pretty much unscathed. So
Fairly unscathed.
yeah. So, but no, it was it was really adventurous here, and you know, it was with our business. You know, we wound up getting involved with the tourism side of things too, and obviously investing in an art gallery here, and had a lot of local artists that we would have stuff on consignment with them. You know, Linda Matthews with her ceramic stuff, Carol Waldo with her ceramic stuff, Jenny Lynn Smith silver work. You know, we would sell that, and so as your folks too were involved with the development of more push towards tourism as more people started showing up, and my folks finally, I think they sold in the late 80s the gallery, and
They sold that to Kurt Ramser, didn't they?
Yeah,
Was he the next one in line?
he was
with
the
that?
next. Yep. Yeah. So, and he ran that for a number of years. And, So
is the cabin next to the Alaska shop on Beach Road?
Yep.
Is that the original one that you prefabbed in your?
That is.
So it's still going strong.
Yeah, I mean
I'm sure you've had to do some work on it over the years.
A fair amount of improvements because there was no electric power out there. There's no running water.
Yeah.
No sewer. There's still no sewer. I'm on septic, but so we had.
Oh, that's crazy. You guys put that in there before there's electricity out to that part of.
And
that's at the beginning of Beach Road.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, there's the Hortons lived past the park. And then the Cliftons built there, and that same summer we built in '72, Jim and Edna Hatch built there right across from the park, and but then that was it. I mean, the road ended at the bottom before the slide, and had the Battery Point Trail started from there, and it's that road has changed quite a bit.
Yes, yeah. So. That was one for a while. People would ask me how long. It's like, well, doesn't take nearly as long as it used to get to Battery Point because they took a good mile out of it.
Yeah. So, but we. I wound up going out to college and
you went to that bad school in East or what? Cougars.
The Cougars.
Damn Cougars.
That was a fun college. That was a fun college. It was ranked like top party college for some back when I was there. So
it's been ranked that numerous times, I think, over the years.
Yeah. So although I studied engineering, so I had to kind of keep the nose to the grindstone. So.
Civil or
civil? Yeah. So.
And what were the plans?
Actually, to get a job doing engineering, and I got a job offer, working for NOAA in their officers' corps, operating their research vessels and doing hydrographic surveying for submarine navigation. And of course, this was before GPS, well, just the start of GPS and stuff like that, but it would have been doing very precise, very accurate mapping of the seafloor for submarine navigation. And
what?
Yeah, so
were you gonna get to go out on the submarines?
No, but
No?
it would have been out on a research vessel.
At a research vessel and stuff.
So it took a long process to go through the FBI clearances and do the physicals and all this kind of stuff. And it took almost 4 months. And
you had to get an FBI clearance
to
go out on a NOAA ship
because of
state secrets or whatever of where the subs were at?
The Cold War stuff.
Yeah, Cold War stuff.
So, and sure enough, the commander of the officer corps out there in New York City calls me up after my physical and said, "Well, son, got some bad news. I can see that you don't have all your fingers, so therefore you cannot perform well under during a shipboard emergency. So we can't offer you your job." And I kind of went, "Oh, really?"
Because you injured your thumb.
Yeah. And so I.
Did you say, "Can I come back and show you how well I can do things?"
Yeah. So I went, "Oh, there's no argument there. I can't really. I mean, okay." So I then contacted some other job offers that I'd had, and those had already been filled. And so I came back up here because I'd always been able to find work here in town doing different things like driving the tour bus and stuff like that. So I just came up here and thought I'd try one year.
What was that? What year was that you came up?
86.
86?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, spring of 87. Yeah. So I graduated December of 86, and I thought I'd try 1 year just to see what a winter was like here.
That happens a lot.
I know.
That happens a lot. They just suck you in for that 1 year.
1 year.
You're
and
still
then
here.
1 year again. Yeah. So yeah, I wound up being winter watchman at the Halsingland Hotel, and started working for Arnie there and doing maintenance and worked on redoing the lounge, the bar there at the hotel, and just did that for a few years, and wound up working for the Chamber of Commerce for briefly for about 9 months before White Fang came, and I wound up getting involved with that.
Okay, you were at the chamber.
You're right. I was the administrator for the chamber.
Okay.
And I had stopped. I'd worked on Lutak Lumber with Tim Moss doing a big remodel job on that, making the second floor of the store, and then that finished up, and so I wound up going into the Chamber of Commerce job in the spring of, I guess it was spring of '89, and worked there through the summer, and then went to the Alaska Visitors Association conference at the end of September up in Fairbanks. And so Chip Waterbury was the tourism director at the time, and I was in his office kind of helping him and the chamber was kind of in the visitor center too. And so I get back from that conference, and he goes, "Glad you're back here. This location scout from Disney is here, and I need you to help her out, whatever she needs, see what she needs, and looking at Haines as a place to film a movie." And so I said, okay. So through having been around and everything, Haines, we all kind of know everybody and the ins and outs. And so Arnie Olson got involved, and Bart Henderson got involved, and trying to taking this young woman out to all over the valley to get photos and for her to take back to the directors.
What time of year was this?
It was October.
So late fall.
Yeah, we took her out to 25 Mile and up to the head of way up at the head of Chilkoot Lake, up the road there, and she wound up photographing and then sending this stuff down to the director and the production designer in Hollywood and seeing if this would be what they had in mind.
Did you ever ask how did Haines get on the radar for that to begin with?
Well, the location scout, Rainey Hall, she's actually an Alaskan involved with the Iditarod and had a lot of connections throughout the state and had worked on other movies or short films in Alaska. And so she knew of Haines, and I think that's really, it was through her that Haines even popped up on the radar for a filming location. So
it probably didn't hurt that we're as close as we are to Skagway, since part of that's the Chilkoot Pass and everything.
And early on, Skagway was totally not even considered because there was just too much modern stuff. It would have been really hard to film a gold rush scene there without all the modern stuff that was around the town. And so it took a solid month. John, the Schnabels were helping out too, and the director and the production designer came up, and the producers came up, and we took them out to the different locations. And I was never really privy to any of the meetings. I was just mostly just an expediter.
You're just the driver,
hey, do you know where we can find this? Oh yeah, this person can do that. Dan Egolf, we used his buses for transporting the group up there, and so pretty much it was kind of a liaison between the town and the production crew, and I actually was never really involved in the whole decision of filming here. I still don't know to this day when and how that came about. It was because the mayor and some of the other business owners in the community went down and actually met with them down in LA. And
I didn't know that they made a trip down there to kind of.
I think the tourism director, I forget who was mayor at the time now that I think of it, but anyways, went down and so all of a sudden, early November, it's the movie's gonna go for here. And so right within a week or so, the production manager showed up with some of the office group and production office people, and he offered me a job to be kind of a liaison and finding places for the animal actors, the wolves and the bear to live, and just also what resources were in town, what carpenters were available, where to house the special effects, where to house the editing, the costumes, and so by early December things were starting to roll, where the production office was up in one of the buildings of the Halsingland Hotel, and I worked with the location scout pretty much under her direction, as far as, because she was the one that was ultimately required to come up with these places, so I just basically helped her out as much as I could.
So they came up at first in October.
Yeah.
And by the beginning of December, they were here full blown.
It was like late November. They were starting to move people
in here.
Yeah, and then the construction of the sets actually started in second week of December. They started building out at Sawmill Point there.
They started building those in December?
Yeah, and it was brutal. It was
I can't even, because the wind that comes through there.
Yeah, and people walked off the job because it was just.
I don't doubt it at all.
But the whole movie production doesn't care about weather.
No,
it's like they have such a demanding timeline. There's so many variables involved, and I mean, it's the scheduling of stuff is so tight, and
it just surprises me that they would do that they wouldn't be like a spring build to do the summer stuff first and then into the winter, but they got all the winter stuff right away.
And we all kind of went, why are they doing it now? This is,
Yeah.
but it's, and here again, I'm not very experienced in movie production other than what I'd experienced there, but I think that there's just, their schedule is just so tight with their staffing, with the equipment, with the casting. I mean, they fly the actors in for just the couple of weeks that they're actually acting, and then they're off to another project. But they have to get everything set up for that, and so.
And I'm guessing just the professionals even behind that with the cameras and stuff like that. That you've got a very tight window because every day you have them here, it's costing you big money.
Yeah. So
and they weren't building permanent buildings either.
No.
And so building in December, they don't care if the ground's frozen. Just make it work. They
just made false front buildings and but it was pretty brutal work. I did not envy those guys. And there was the one big warehouse that was still out at Sawmill Point that they pretty much took over and made that into the carpentry shop. But yeah, it was a lot of hours. They were working 6 days a week, and it was fun. I never thought I'd work on a movie, and I learned a lot of stuff really quick. And when the production actually started to film, like in, I guess it was mid-February, the location manager had to step out for personal reasons, and so they basically I filled in her position and took it for the rest of the movie production, and continued to locate places around the valley to meet what the production designer and the director wanted in their film. And it was great that the entire film was done here in the valley, and it's my understanding that's kind of rare to do an entire full-length movie in one small area. Usually you've got a second unit to, if you needed mountains, for a movie, you go to Vancouver or someplace like that for a second unit shot or something. But and the fact that the story written, White Fang by Jack London was written about the gold rush and set basically in this same area. I mean, within a few hundred miles, and so it's kind of neat that movie was done here. And
so how long were they? When did they wrap up production on that?
I was late. I was the first one hired, the last one laid off, and so it was like first week of August. Things were pretty much shut down, and my last job was to have the big town sets there at Sawmill Point demolished and burnt. And that led.
You failed.
I failed.
You did not do your final job, Tom.
Yeah, no.
You still haven't gotten it completed, have you?
Yeah. Well, Pluck-One Inc. owned the property.
Yeah.
And they kind of said, well, can we, not have that destroyed? And then the fair wound up. Pretty much the community said, well, wait a second. Typical Alaskans.
Yeah, we got something here. What can we make out of it?
Yeah, we don't throw stuff away, and whereas with the production company, it's just like, we don't need it, get it out of here, that kind of stuff. And so then the fair secured that grant for making Dalton City out of those sets. And
what year was it that those moved to Dalton City?
It was they did
4 or 5 years later.
No, they did a big fundraiser for like $750 donation to pay Leo Smith to move them over to the fairgrounds. And I believe I'm pretty sure it was in the fall of that year of 1990 that it moved over to the fairgrounds, and then over the winter they secured the $100,000 grant
to kind of finish them off.
Yeah, and so that next year, I believe it was 91.
Okay.
They started assembling Dalton City and putting foundations under the buildings, putting actual roofs on them. In fact, my dad wound up being the project manager on that, and oversaw all that. And they wound up, Mom and Dad wound up setting up a little gallery in one of the buildings there for a couple of years and a couple of seasons. And so, yeah, it was fun times. So
what, going from working for the chamber and now you're in the movie business,
right.
what, broad strokes, what is your biggest memory of kind of, was it just that chaotic, all this stuff needs to happen in a short period of time?
Yeah.
Was it some of the people you met? Was it?
Well, yeah.
What?
I mean, I had a beer with Ethan Hawke at the Housing Land Hotel, and it's just like, this young kid he was the it actor because he'd come off a Dead Poet Society, and he was a up and coming young actor, and
now he's well established.
Very well established
actor.
But I remember when the bear showed up driven up from Utah in a big trailer, and it pulled up to the production office, and you just look through. It was just steel bars and kind of dark in there, and you just see this giant silhouette of a bear. Mm-hmm. And Doug Seuss, his owner, he was a bear of a man. He was great. I really enjoyed him.
He was a big dude.
He was a big dude, and I wound up taking him around trying to find a place to house the bear, and he had requirements of what he needed, and wound up, it was Joe Jurgelite's property there at 1 Mile, and she just loved that. And
that was right up Joe's alley.
Yeah. So
I remember when I got back that summer from college, going out when Bart was here, and Bart the bear, and going out, and Doug was having him do tricks or whatever, and showing him off, and it was fun to watch that, and watch him train. And then I was able to catch some of the filming out at 25 Mile, but it were you there for any of the filming at the set too?
Oh yeah.
So you're kind of in the. Are you in the movie anywhere? Did you get a part in there?
Well, I am in. I never was. I got dressed up, costumed up one day out there at the town site set, but I wound up getting called off to another emergency someplace else. I can't remember where, but there was the nighttime scene at the camp, which was filmed out at Chilkat State Park. The director had me, or the production, the AD, the assistant director, had me stand back in the brush and stop the actor Seymour Cassell that played Skunker as he runs off to try and stop the dogs from getting killed. He runs off into the woods, and so I had to be, and he's going from a lit area into the darkness, and so the AD had me in there to catch him and slow him down so he didn't hurt himself. So technically I'm in the movie, but I'm behind a bunch of brush. So, but that's good because I've got a face for radio and a voice for silent movies.
So now you got, is this the start of your safety career? Was that your first safety thing, or were you into the EMT stuff before that?
I had been on the departments since I had started a couple of years earlier. So,
okay.
But yeah, and then another scene where the main Klaus Maria Brandauer falls back into the fire. The assistant director had me standing there with a bucket of water just in case he caught fire. So the AD goes, "Tom, come over here. You're on the fire department." It's like, okay. But usually my job as location manager was I had to be securing places to film, so getting it okayed by the director and the production designer for signing, getting paperwork signed with the property owners to use it, and then also making sure that every time the production company moved to the next filming location, that everything was set up, that the craft service tent was there, the mess tent was there, there was restrooms brought in. That the road in was good. That there was security. Nighttime have I had a bunch of security guys that would stay at the different locations to make sure nobody messed with stuff. And so I'd have to run around and make sure everything was in place there. I wound up putting 25,000 miles on my car in 10 months.
25,000 in Haines. 25.
Yeah.
That's got to be a record.
And
never leaving the valley. You got
never,
25,000.
Yeah. I wore my vehicle out on that one, but because I'd wound up having to go like check something at the Chilkoot State Park set while they're filming. I'd have to go find the AD there, and then go up to 55 Mile to check to make sure that we had the set was ready to go up there, and so and then back into town again, and Nataga Creek. I mean, all the way up above Mosquito Lake. That's 10 miles back in there. So it was I really liked the Nataga Creek set. It was there was 135 people that would be on
that set
on
up there.
Site. Yeah, and
up in Nataga.
Yeah.
Holy cow!
And it was, at the major filming locations, that's what it would be. And
they'd have that many people
wardrobe,
up there.
makeup, the staff, the mess, the catering.
And should you have to have tents set up for that?
Yeah.
For all of that?
Yeah, they had trailers and tents.
And tents.
Yeah, and so they'd move back and forth, and it was a real challenge.
There's a lot of logistics going into that.
Yeah, and
because getting up to Nataga Creek with all of that stuff wasn't easy.
No, it was not. Back then, the road was
in much better shape than it is now.
They'd done a lot.
But still, it was a logging road.
Yes, yeah, and it was with that much traffic too that it got pretty potholy. Same with Lutak Road, which was dirt.
Yeah.
That
I bet
road,
the residents out there hated you guys.
It was not. It wasn't very good. So, but and then I'd have to go back, and once the production company said that we didn't need to hold a location, I had to turn it back over to the property owner and make sure it was cleaned up and that the property owner was satisfied with it, and so, but yeah, so I wound up being a lot of behind the scenes on stuff, and never really did get in front of the camera in a costume and as a character. So, but I was able to get my dad in, which was pretty cool because since he's passed, it's kind of fun to see him
watch the movie and see him in it.
It's like, oh yeah, but so many Haines people were in there. It's kind of a look back in the past on that.
So when that came out, I haven't watched it in a long time, but when it came out, I was at college and I invited some of my friends to go watch it with me.
Yeah.
And the whole time I'm like, oh, that's that person. That's there. There's Clifford Fossman. And then, that's in there. And this is at this spot. And you kind of point out the things at the end of it. They're like, that movie wasn't that good. I'm like, I don't care. First of all, shut up because I paid your way in.
Right.
And since most of you guys won't come to Haines, at least this is my opportunity.
Right.
It's in a movie, but you can see the scenery around Haines.
Yeah.
But they'd give me a bad time. The movie wasn't that good. You dragged us to this movie, wasn't it? I was like, again, shut up. It was free. You got a free movie out of it. I don't want to hear you complaining.
It did really showcase the valley. We live in a very spectacular place.
Yes.
That's something that I don't think I've ever have taken for granted and always have appreciated is that you travel out of here and you come back here and you go, yeah, this is a pretty nice place. Yeah. So.
And it is kind of cool too with, I don't know if you get this as much at Lutak, but here with people coming in, any tourists coming in, and when they've driven over the pass.
Yes.
And we talked about this with Marty when her and Greg kind of drove over the pass. It's just this bluebird day, and it's like, oh my God, this is magical.
Yep.
And it is.
Yep.
Even now, you've been here since early 70s. I've been here since 69.
Yeah.
You get those days when you come back from Whitehorse or driving up there.
Clear blue sky.
And it is phenomenal.
Yep.
It still hits you.
My wife and I were up in Whitehorse 2 weekends ago, and it was it was spectacular, and you just you can never take it for granted. And in fact, funny story, my daughter Lydia had some friends coming down from Fairbanks a couple summers ago, and they were checking in as they were coming down. I was like, oh yeah, we're in Haines Junction, and so we're going, okay, they'll be here in a couple hours. And a couple hours go by, and not here, and another hour goes by, they're not here. And so they finally show up like 3.5 hours later, and we're going, everything okay? Did you break down? And they go, no, we had to stop once we got to Haines Junction and started coming down this way, we had to stop and take pictures every couple of miles. It was fantastic. So it was, so I think too, when you work in the tourism industry here, and like driving bus back in the 80s, I wound up learning a lot about the history of Haines, and then you try and expound on that with your clients, and then you also see how they see Haines. Because they go, wow, this is amazing, and on a good day, and then on a rainy low cloud day, it's like, yeah, really there are mountains here, but you can it does always kind of keep you fresh on that, that you don't take it for granted.
Exactly. And one of the ones for me is when it's overcast, you can only see about half the mountains, and you have people come in like, oh my god, it is so beautiful here. You're like, really? Today it is?
Today?
Yeah, you have no idea what you're missing. But it is that perspective sometimes that it gets me catching myself like, yeah, I do take that for granted. I'm waiting for those bluebird days because I know how spectacular it can be. But there's people that are like, man, this is awesome, and they're only getting half of it.
Yep, exactly.
Well, maybe I should appreciate half of it too.
No, it's pretty cool. So but yeah, we the movie was a lot of fun. I wound up going to the dentist to get my teeth cleaned one day during the production, and it was 6 days a week, 12, 14 hours a day, and I fell asleep, slept through the entire thing. And
nice.
Getting my teeth cleaned. It's just like, she wakes me up, it's like, okay, Tom, I'm all done. Like,
you have to leave. You have to leave now. I'm sorry, but we're gonna have to leave.
I got to go back to work. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, so 10 months, 7 days, pretty much 6-7 days a week and that'll wear you out.
It was two like 6-week filming sessions with a hiatus in between. But everybody, the filming people were on hiatus.
But you trying to get everything ready for the next set. You're
the set decorators, the carpenters. They were building. Like the Eagle Foundation, that was building. That was the interior of the cabin set, and so they were busy building that. And it was, pretty much anybody that needed work in this town could find work doing something. There was a lot of locals got involved. Everything from special effects to costume to catering to just being drivers. A lot of people were driving the key actors to and from the sets. I had a safety crew that would go up and make sure the sets were safe from like the Chilkoot Trail, the Golden Staircase climb, going up and setting safety ropes on that, and so it was pretty busy for that time period here. So. Yeah.
But it wasn't exciting enough that you're like, I need to follow this and make this a career.
Well, I did some location scouting for a couple of commercials that fall. One was an Alaska tourism commercial, and pretty much filmed in Haines and Skagway and Juneau. So I worked around with that, and then I did some preliminary scouting or tried to promote Haines for a couple other movies. Bart Henderson was involved in that, and a couple other, the tourism director this was in 91, I think it was. But they wound up deciding to go to Vancouver and Hyder because it was cheaper to film in Canada. So it's all about the money when it comes to production. And Canadian mountains look like Alaska mountains, and it's
to the people that haven't seen.
Yeah, exactly. and it's a 30%
30% change.
Yep. Yeah. So sadly, we don't see a lot of productions. The state government was very pro movie production back in the 80s and the early 90s.
They had a lot of oil revenue to spend.
Right. So that's gone away, and so it's you see a little bit of production. Usually it's the reality TV show stuff now, but and just my little novel or my the whole production has changed so much, going to digital. I mean, back at White Fang,
oh, they're shooting all of that on film.
Yeah, and we'd have to fly that stuff out to get produced, and then ship it back in. To 2 days later, we would go to the Chilkat Center and watch the films, the dailies, and see how it came out, and they decide if they have to reshoot it or something like that. So, yeah, but yeah,
I didn't even think about that part of it.
It was crazy. I shot.
Where would they send it to get it produced?
It was down in L.A. someplace. Yeah.
Okay.
So it would get flown out. Yeah. Gold Streak down to L.A.
Gold Streak, and then they'd Gold Streak it back so they could.
They set it up, and we'd all, anybody that wanted to from the production company and would be there and watch what it was, what the film looked like, and it was that was kind of neat, but
that'd be cool to see that part of it too, just kind of on the daily basis.
Yeah, and then the editor
and hear the director and editor or whatever producers talking about why they don't like something or what. Yeah.
So. And then the editing room was actually down underneath the stage. They had a whole editing table and equipment there to cut and splice together everything, and the costume wardrobe was all in the Chilkat Center too. So. But so it was just that kind of stuff. I would shoot 35 millimeter film by the 6-7 rolls a day. And then ship them down to Juneau to get developed and brought back up here, and then I'd cut and splice them into landscape, and now with digital stuff, it's not a big deal. It's
download on the laptop, here you go, or even just show your phone.
Yeah, you paste it up and show the director, well, this is the view and this is the reverse, and I probably shot 60 or 70 rolls of film, just to try and to
give them a perspective of what they're
looking at, and of course it differed from winter to summer too. So, but so that was part of the job. So, but later on, Bell's had a film development, and I think King's Store later on.
King's had one too.
Yeah, so. But like I say, the digital age has really changed all that. So
yes, it has.
A lot less equipment required, and
Sam doesn't have to send any of this out. He just downloads
exactly.
It, just takes the cards out and downloads them to his computer.
So like you're saying, Marty. I mean, Marty knows, he's deep into that, and so. But so it you wouldn't have to have that large a group now to film. Even a major motion picture, because it's just less stuff that you got to do, but it was that was quite a project, and it would have been fun to kind of do some more work, but having traveled back and forth every year, it was kind of nice to just
be able to stay in one spot year round,
and So
you had mentioned when we were talking about the safety thing that a couple years before White Fang came here, you got on the ambulance crew, fire department. Yeah. What was that something that you looked at? Because I think your dad was on the department, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And was that kind of the reason you wanted to get into it, or is there another reason?
It was just like, you're not part of the community if you're not volunteering for something. If you're not helping with hospice, or if you're not running community youth group or something. So we were always, like you guys, always involved in different things in town, and in fact, Dad joined the fire department just through our first night in the cabin when we built it in '72. We wake up to the sirens going off and the black smoke when the elementary school had caught fire.
Oh, wow.
And Dad,
okay, yeah.
Dad had been in the Navy and had firefighter training, shipboard firefighting training. So we all drive down, and he knew some of the guys, and they said grab a hose. And so after that, he was on the department, and
so his first fire in Haines was the old school.
Oh, the old school, yeah. So
dang.
And he wound up getting his EMT certification, and then so I mean that was kind of part of our life, growing up with a plectron and having it the tone out, and I'd ride on the fire trucks and the parades, and but so I just kind of when I was in high school, I would go and train with them on training nights, just to pull hose and stuff like that, and so yeah, I joined in '88, just figuring why not.
You'd moved back and you said, if I'm going to be here,
if I'm going to be here, I may as well volunteer. So, and yeah, I got my EMT certification just after I finished up with White Fang, because I couldn't really break away during the movie production to go take a 2-week EMT course. So, but by that time I'd started working with Chip, and he was always understanding of our involvement in the community. And so I went down to Sitka and spent 2 weeks there and got my EMT 1 certification. And yeah.
So I hesitate to ask this question, but I'm going to ask it anyhow. I apologize if this makes you sound old.
Yeah.
Are you the longest continuous serving?
No, that's the thing.
Al was here before you.
Oh yeah, Al. CJ.
Okay, CJ was before you.
Yep. Who is actively on right now? Scott Bradford was joined up a little bit before I did.
Okay.
There's kind of they're kind of the retiree people that are still here in town.
They're still here.
Alan Heinrich,
yeah.
Rock Aarons.
So,
yeah, it's.
But as far as still active,
responding.
You might be number 3.
Yeah, I think so. Scott Bradford, he shows up on major fires, and as kind of a initial IC. Yeah, I'm starting to
3 or 4
get up there, and
that's a lot. The reason I bring it up, not to make you sound old, or feel old, but that's a lot of service. That's a lot of late night calls, middle of the day, and interrupting your schedule and going out there.
I'm starting to feel it. I don't bounce out of the bed as fast as I
quite
used
as quickly as you did 38 years ago. I should hope not.
You got to run through and hit the bathroom, and then you got to find your glasses, and it's a little bit long. It takes me a little bit longer to get rolling. Yeah. So, and but yeah, but everybody in this town pretty much is involved in stuff and volunteering and doing stuff. But
true. And some people are going to disagree. You might disagree with me, but I look at the people that are volunteering, the EMTs, the firefighters and stuff that are showing up. It's one thing to volunteer for a nonprofit when you're doing a fundraiser, when you're showing up during the day. Getting a call out at 2:00 in the morning in January, and there's a fire, there's an automobile wreck or something like that you're having to respond to, and crappy conditions. You're interacting with people in the worst time of their lives at that moment. Yeah. And doing that and answering the call over and over again. Yeah. Well, for as long as you've done that, and there's the people that keep doing it and doing it and doing it. It's just, I am so impressed with that.
Well, it's also a case of you become a team, and you don't want to let your team members down.
No.
And you always have a little bit of guilt. Like, there was a call when I was up in Whitehorse 2 weeks ago, and I was out of town and couldn't respond.
Couldn't get down from Whitehorse soon enough, Tom? Come on now.
But yeah, it takes some dedication and.
Some dedication. It takes a lot of dedication, Tom. I know you don't want to, but it's the same thing when I was talking to Al. He's like, well, yeah, you just show up. It's just what you do. It's like, but not everybody does it.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, you guys are at a point now where there's times when you're struggling to have enough people respond to some calls.
Yeah.
So it's not everybody is showing up. Everybody does something.
But a lot of other organizations too are struggling to have members.
That giving back community spirit ethos or whatever, that when we were growing up, that was kind of like our parents showed us the way. It's like you give back. These are the things that you do. It's not that way as much anymore.
Yeah, sadly, I think you're right. It's definitely changed. Yeah, but it's rewarding to be on the department. It is. I am starting to feel my age, especially with the firefighting side of things. Things seem a lot heavier and a lot more resistant to movement when I'm trying to drag something here or there. I think that the department's really a solid department too. I mean, the community has a lot of faith in us, which we appreciate, and we hope that we bring some level of comfort when we show up, and that we realize that we're showing up to people's worst day, and we try and be as empathetic and have compassion and try to help as best we can. There's quite often there's not a lot we can do. Stabilize and try and get them to a higher level of care. Mm-hmm. And we also live in a somewhat remote place. So, but yeah, so it's like I say, it's nice to be able to give back to the community. So
I know there's been a few instances where you guys have had to show up, whether it's a fire or medical, and the way that you guys have always treated our family. We always, any chance we can get, we always try and support the department, because the ability and the desire to keep showing up day after day after day is very much appreciated.
Yeah. Well, thanks. I mean, I stand on the shoulders of a lot of other guys.
There's been a lot of people that have done it over the years.
Yeah, I think back to Pete Lapham and mm-hmm. Frank Wallace and Ray Lewis, and then the people that are still here, Alan Heinrich and Rock Aarons. They put a lot of time into the department, and early on, the department built their own tankers out of logging trucks. I mean, Tanker 5, Tanker 3, they were Peterbilt trucks, with split shift transmissions that very mm-hmm. few people know how to drive anymore. So we wound up getting rid of them, and because they were also getting very tired. But
it's kind of hard. The tanker doesn't do nearly as well if you can't get it from the fire department nobody can drive it.
Yeah,
to the fire.
Exactly.
It starts becoming an impediment to the effectiveness of the department.
And they were hauling. They were somewhat, I think, too heavy too. I think you can almost see the pavement rolling up in front of the tires. But it wasn't quite that bad. But yeah, so it was. I certainly. I've been a member, but there's been a lot of guys that have put in a lot more work than I've done into it. So, but yeah.
So in changing topics now, you had mentioned your wife. How'd you meet your wife?
She was the girl next door. Actually,
the girl next door.
Yeah. She got a job right out of college teaching here, which was, I think it might have been the first time that there was a teaching position open for years. That teachers came here and they retired here. And so she showed up the following summer after. You can see I base things on White Fang.
Before, pre or post White Fang.
Post, and so she got a job teaching middle school here. Nancy Billingsley offered her a job, and she had actually flown up to Anchorage to a job fair up there and met Nancy Billingsley there, and wound up. She initially had a job in Hoona, and then Nancy said, "No, I think you should show up. We'd like to have you in Haines." And so she wound up, packed up her truck, drove from Michigan over to Seattle, and caught on the ferry and came up and moved into Flagle's apartments. And I was building a house over on Cemetery Hill, and I was living in my folks' workshop there on Beach Road because they still had the place on Beach Road. And I noticed her chassis first, her pickup truck.
Pickup truck.
Yeah, she had a very nice looking chassis.
Yeah.
And
a little chassis envy there, Tom.
Yeah. In a small town.
In a small town,
you know everybody's vehicles.
Yes, you do.
Especially at the lumberyard, people pull in on it and know exactly who it is. And so it's like, new somebody's moving into Flagle's apartments. And a couple of days later, I saw a very fetching young lady there, and so I had Jeff Shields was in the apartment next door, and I'd worked for him for a number of years with the Haines Streetcar Company, so I just happened to stop in, and she was just talking to him, and it's like, so I met her there, and so. Yeah, the rest is history. So
you got in quick before she met anybody else in town.
Yeah.
You kind of have to do that in Haines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the odds are good and the goods are odd.
Goods are odd. So that was fall of '91 or fall of '92?
Fall of '91.
Fall of '91.
Yeah. So she's. And of course, she's retiring now, so she's pretty much worked her career here. So, and got 2 kids. 2
very talented young ladies as daughters.
The second one's graduating in a couple of weeks, and so, but it was worked out well.
So after White Fang, you go to work for Chip Lundy at Lutak Lumber.
Yeah. He offered me a job. He said, can you do 2 years? I said, I can do 2 years.
You can do 2 years.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I can do 1 year in Haines.
In Haines.
I survived 1 year in Haines. So I'm willing to double that on the job. We'll give it a shot.
And so 2 years went for a few more years, and then family started and kids showed up, and it's like pretty much you just keep going.
Just keep going.
It's been good. So
So what do you? I think one of your passions is trains.
Yeah.
Am I correct on that?
Yeah. Growing up as a kid, I always had a model train, and I always wanted to do more with it. But it's also, my hobbies I try and not let take over my life. So I tend to, I have a lot of interests, and so I never really focus on any one thing. But it was fun to actually start collecting the larger scale stuff as I became an adult, and so I do occasionally at Christmas time able to set it up at the museum and stuff, and I occasionally will set some up around the house, but don't really have a lot of space to do that. So. But
if the girl's off, can't you just convert one of the bedrooms to a train? Has that been nixed by your wife? No. The rooms are off limits, so the girls would come back and visit?
I was always, growing up and driving up to here from Seattle, you'd see the Canadian National Railroad going through the Fraser Canyon. I see the White Pass and Yukon Railroad going, and was fascinated with railroad history, and so it just kind of, my dad had a Lionel set that he wound up setting up, and I got a Lionel set for Christmas one year when I was, in third grade or something. At Christmas time, it was all set up, and I spent hours playing with that, and so it's somewhat of a hobby of mine, although I don't partake in. I haven't really expanded my rail car collection too much.
Do you still have that original Lionel set?
I do, actually. Yeah, I'd probably have to clean up some of the track. It's gotten some moisture in it and stuff, but yeah, it was.
What railroad was it? Was it this particular, or was
no,
it just generic?
It was a combination of different stuff.
Okay.
So, yeah. So, but yeah, it was. It was fun to. It's a kind of a fun hobby, and I don't do too much with it nowadays. But a lot of the stuff is just stored in my workshop and until it's time to set it up for Christmas. So, yeah, but it was fun, and part of it was just my enjoyment, or what I liked about engineering too, is just the engineering behind building railroads was always intriguing, especially like building the White Pass in Yukon. I couldn't read enough of it. And, so yeah, it was.
I remember back in the late '90s, early 2000s. I think it's probably early 2000s. There's two TV shows I watched. It was Monster Garage, where they take with Jesse James, they take the cars, make it, and then they also had Monster House, where you'd come in and you'd want a theme. And one of them, they loved Christmas, and so they had the suspended railroad track going through a couple different rooms, put holes in the wall. And it was before the sports shop was in here, and I wanted to do that so bad. And so I've got a lot of the White Pass and the Alaska Railroad cars. I never got an engine. I've only got a couple pieces of track. And I think you and I had talked about this at the time. I was trying to figure out, how can I suspend like a railroad track in here and keep that running?
It can be done, but man, it's a lot of work.
That's what you told me, and I was one of the. Usually when people say it can be done, but it's a lot of work, I'm like, all right, let's go do it. It can be done. Yeah. That was one of the ones as I started looking at. I was like, yeah, I don't know if I want to do this much work.
Yeah, because I thought about it at my place. It's just like I look around going, dang, if I didn't, maybe as I work into my retirement age and I actually have some more time,
you'll figure out a way to
something.
do it.
But I was toying with the idea of somehow doing one outside my workshop, so people going by could actually see
watch the train going through.
But I still haven't figured that one out. So, but. It was always interesting. My dad
if you need some of the big White Pass or Alaska Railroad cars when you do that, let me know. I've still got them new in the box.
Oh, great. That's great.
Never been out. So maybe we could do a joint project on this.
Sure. We ought to do it in front here.
I was trying to figure out some way to just do a loop either amongst the beams or something through here. I talked to, because you remember Tom Bolesky was always building bridges.
He was amazing at that.
I never saw any of those bridges. Everybody would always tell me these amazing bridges, and I never got up there until before he passed away to take a look at them.
He and I, he'd come in the lumber yard and buy up a bunch of 1/8-inch dowels, like hundreds of them. And so I went over his place one day, and we'd talk about it because I that was part of my education, was bridge design and engineering and part of civil, and it was truly amazing what he knew. He had a good engineering mind, and he would load test these things, and they functioned as a real bridge, but small. And it was all out of 1/8-inch dowel, and he had a little table saw that he'd ripped some certain pieces down too, but that's what he would do in the wintertime. So,
a Navy Seabee.
Yeah. So, but
I talked to him, man. His eyes would light up, and he'd start going. I'm like, hang on, Tom, I'm not ready to do that. He's like, I can get you started.
He was fun to talk to, and just the bridges he did were amazing, and they were all to scale and all different types of bridges too. It wasn't just simple winky bridges and stuff, and he would actually put load on them to test them, and they would hold up. So, but I don't know whatever happened to all those bridges.
I don't know that. I know his son was up and grabbed a bunch of stuff after he passed, and so I don't know if I hope they saved him and somebody's got him.
But that was he was quite the guy on that. That was pretty neat. So, but so Yeah.
So now with retirement coming up here,
Yeah.
what's retirement going to look like?
Actually,
I don't see you slowing down much.
Well, no, yeah, I don't have any plans of leaving LUTAC anytime soon. You know,
Yeah.
with the wife retiring, you do one major life change at a time.
At a time, so that's you're gonna let her do the major change first, and then you're gonna slowly work into that and see.
We'll see what happens. But
I have a feeling she's gonna talk you into a little more downtime than you've probably had before.
Yeah. She's talking about some traveling.
Yeah.
No, I actually want to spend a little bit more time in the fire department. I haven't really been able to get down there lately as much as I should, and but. Yeah, no real plans yet, but one day at a time, I guess. So, yeah.
So we need to collaborate here and figure out a way that we can do a really cool train display that people can see.
Yeah, you got room here.
We do have room here, or we could take it to another level. Yeah. We need to go back to your dad.
Yeah.
Come up with a train a little bit bigger than the one at the fair, a little more horsepower behind it, and have that as a tour. We can do a train tour.
You can do it. Yeah.
And so we just need to up that, go a little bit bigger scale than we're talking here, Tom, and have a train tour around town.
I like that idea.
Yeah. We can start working on that.
Yeah.
But every summer, my dad, he loved watching RFD TV, which is Midwest, all farming shows and stuff. So he'd see different things, and he'd call me up. Doug, I need to talk to you. Stop by the house. And so he'd been watching the show. He never knew how to use the DVR or anything, so he never recorded anything. And he'd talk about these things. And so I'd have to go look him up, try and figure out with a brief description from him exactly what it is. We need to have lawnmower races at the fairgrounds, and we need to have all these other. And he had all these different things for a tour in town with all these crazy farm implements.
Right.
So, Dad, nobody's going to come here for a farm implement. It's not. We got to have something that's.
Yeah.
They've got the White Pass Railroad in Skagway. Yeah. We need to have like the Haines Pass Railroad here, and just we don't need tracks anywhere. Just put some wheels on it.
Yep. Yeah.
All right. Although we've just given our business secret out.
Yeah.
So if somebody steals it, we were talking about it here first. So we can always take them to court on that.
Yeah. No, that would be kind of cool, but yeah. No.
Maybe we could have a fire engine pulling it.
Yeah, we could do that.
Have it as a fundraiser for the fire department.
Yeah.
Have a train with the fire, or just have like a train and then have like I don't know if people want to hop on an ambulance when they're in Haines, even if it's on part of a fun train ride. But
it's always good to stay out of ambulances.
It's always good to stay out of ambulances. Or just have. You could have the moose car, you could have a bear car, you could have the different animals.
Yep.
And you can take people on a tour around town.
Yeah.
Kind of like the old horse carriage ride, but with a train.
Yeah. Man, I always just had a flashback to the horse carriage stuff that was going on around here. You think back, there's a lot of stuff that had come and gone around here.
Yeah, and I would like to think that I'm not that old, but the more memories I have of the stuff that has come and gone, the older I feel.
Yep. I was just thinking about the old Fort Seward Lodge, which was a totem bar and grill.
Yeah.
With the bowling alley.
The bowling alley on the side.
And go bowling there. And
then the salmon bake out in the parade grounds there in the summertime.
I would work that.
You'd work
Arnie,
that.
Yeah.
And then I remember the cool one that I liked was, and Sam used to drive for him, was the classic car.
Classic car.
That was
cool.
That was really cool. Those cars.
Cool. That would still go over now, I think. So, but it's a lot of things. A lot of things have come and gone, and back in.
So I hope Lisa doesn't see this and be like, "Dang it, Doug, you're giving him all these ideas. I'm never going to get him to retire." I apologize, Lisa, if this keeps Tom from any of his honeydews at home. I'm just trying to keep him busy and out of trouble.
Oh, she'll keep me busy.
I'm sure she's got a list for you. And when she's not teaching kids, for 9 months, she'll have more time to work on that list.
A lot more. So
yeah,
I'm a little scared.
Well, it's good that you're postponing because sorry, honey, Chip needs me. I gotta
Yeah,
go.
right,
I can only do so many of these
Golly,
at a time.
geez, I've got to work 60 hours this week. I'm sorry, honey.
I'm short on staff. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, no, it'll be good. But yeah, so yeah.
So speaking of, because you've been in tourism in a number of different ways. You know, from your parents' business, kind of selling stuff around the state.
Yeah.
Any ideas on how we can boost that in Haines? How do we create more of like a, I don't know, more of a community profile or something that, you know, we're the adventure capital of Alaska. We bill ourselves that way, but then we don't want to do anything adventurous.
Yeah, I think to try and be open to different things coming up. Just be like, okay, let's give it a try. See if this will work, you know. Kind of saying no to everything kind of shuts a lot of doors. And it is difficult. I've always felt like we're kind of in a weird geographical position. You know, we're stuck amongst major cruise ship ports. We do have the road, and I really think that if anything, we need to just go for be an event town which we're doing. You know, beer festival, bike race, state fair, the heli skiing, the Eagle Festival. Kind of have those weekend things happening on a more regular basis. People are going to be coming into town. They're going to be using restaurants. They're going to be using hotels, Airbnbs, and kind of. I don't, you know, we'll never be a Skagway or a Juneau in the fact that we have one cruise ship dock. I don't think that the community, the community generally doesn't like large numbers of tourists in here, but we're not situated far enough away from these major destinations that it works for the cruise ships. We have one cruise ship dock here in town. But we are great for independent travelers, and that was really what we started out as, was independent travelers. There was Chuck West and his bus tours that would come down here. West Tour cruise ships would come in here, but those were small. You know, back in the 70s, there were a few hundred people, and in fact, I remember as a teenager going out and tying those ships up, just Arnie and me and my dad and the harbor master, because and Southeast Stevedoring eventually shut us down because we were taking union jobs. But you're kind of
undercut. This is kind of a theme for you, isn't it? You're undercutting the longshoremen. You're running rides at the fair at 12. You're just taking all the older people's jobs.
You just do it. I mean, you know, you got to sweep the floor, so you got to make it happen. But yeah, and you know, it's always with the road, with our connection to the Yukon. I really like the connecting with the Yukoners. I figure we have more in connection with them than really with Southeast, to be quite honest.
Yep, I agree.
So many people have relatives up there. The Canadians are crazy for salmon. They like the fair. They like the bike race. You know, when they have the bike race and they come down here and we feed them free fish, they're like, they love it, you know. It's unfortunately our politics right now are not conducive to welcoming Canadians, but hopefully that will change. So I always thought building better connections with the Yukon would be good. So
I'm just trying to think of who the next big thinker for Haines is going to be, because you look at over the years, you know, your dad was in a lot of different things, trying to come up with different stuff. Arnie Olson, he was very imaginative. Bart Henderson coming up with a ton of different things.
Dad?
My dad was always going out trying something different, and whatever it was, let's try this, let's try this. As you know, Duck Hess starting the river tour, and it was kind of funny. I was telling Karen this about a month or so ago. I think it was either 1972 or 1974 yearbook. A friend brought one by, and they had an advertisement for his jet boat service.
Sure.
Because he had tried that the first time.
At 10 Mile.
I think it was out of 10 mile going to Chilkat Lake and stuff. I think, but yeah, he did it for 1 or 2 summers.
Yep.
But there was in the yearbook for that, and I'm like, there's proof that he was doing it in the 70s.
Yep.
But then it didn't take off. But then 10 years later, or whatever, 15 years later, he tried it again, and it took off great.
Yeah.
And so now it's kind of we're kind of keeping the same things going.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot that's really new.
Right.
And maybe there isn't anything new, but it seems like there is something there, but nobody's really taking the chance on it.
It's hard. It's tough. Yeah. But yeah, I was just thinking back. When I was driving tour bus, we would pick up for Bart's operation, Chilkat Guides. They'd have a flotilla of LAB planes flying tourists from Skagway over, and we'd pick them up at the airport, and I'd drive them up to the put-in on the Cirque, and then take them back to the airport, and they'd fly back over. They have 6, 7, 8 of those airplanes all at once come flying in here, and the transportation between the communities has changed a little bit. There's the fast ferry pulling people, tourists out of
a lot
Skagway.
more efficient than 6-seater Cherokees.
Yes. So, I don't know. Certainly, I mean, the next generation is going to be bringing up some new ideas, but.
No, and I forgot it was Dale Mulford with the
Tokshinuk
Mountain Trail up there.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when he first started that, everybody was like, that guy's crazy.
Yeah.
It's just it's one of the best experiences.
It is.
You can just go up there and the view you get from the top of that. Yeah. But to have that foresight to think that, this is going to be a cool event.
And it's also hard you have to take your vision or what you know of Haines, and you have to look at it from the eyes of people that aren't from Haines.
Yep.
Because what we take for granted is spectacular. Or amazing for people elsewhere. Just oh yeah, those bears. It's like So, you do have to kind of keep a fresh perspective. And certainly, I didn't get the genes, I don't think, from my dad as to how to be creative and start stuff up. I'm more of a keep things going, in the process and stuff like that. But
I think I'm a lot more conservative than my dad on that as well.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it was just looking back at it and seeing, it's like, holy crap, he just about lost it all.
Yeah.
Numerous different times. It's like, there are times that he was telling me before he passed it, they were paying like 18-19% interest on loans. And so I'm like, holy crap, how did you make that work?
Yeah.
And, he's still young. He's got 2 young kids, got a wife, and he puts it all on the line, quits teaching to open up a sporting goods store when there's already another sporting goods store, and everybody's like, you're way out of town. He's like the next block down from the school, and they're like, nobody's going to go that far out of town. Right. Like, when somebody was telling me that when I was a kid, they're like, when your dad first started this, we never thought it because it's so far out of town. I'm like, looking out the door, I was like, wait. It's only like 4 blocks. How are we that far out of town?
That is, it, I don't know.
I don't know if I would have had that same strength to just like, all right, chips go in.
Yep. Yeah. I'm not much of a gambling guy, and I don't think my dad was either, but I think too my mom shielded a lot of that stuff from him. He was able to just, all right, this year we're going to do this, and it's like, meanwhile my mom's kind of going, okay. So, but yeah, I mean, it also seemed like we were always working, doing something. Like it was up early doing stuff, all the way to these long days of the summer, till 8, 9 o'clock at night, and then we'd take a drive out to Chilkoot or something like that, just to kind of relax, and then start and do it all over again. So. But Yeah, it was one of the funniest. One of my memories was being a salesman for the family business. I think it was the same year I messed my hand up. My folks just put me on the ferry to Sitka. I went down with a briefcase. I went to all the stores on Lincoln Street.
Yeah.
And peddled our wares, cribbage boards and cocktail glasses with my dad's artwork on them, and note cards, and that was just like, nowadays it's like people freak out if you send a kid off on their own and it's just like, oh, you just get on the ferry, and when you get down there, call us, and I stayed at the Catholic Church and went around, hit all the stores, then came back, went up to Skagway, did the same thing.
Had you negotiated a commission on all your sales, or
no?
Was that you got room and board?
I got room and board. That's exactly what it was. So, but
were you a successful salesperson?
Yeah, actually, I did pretty good. Yeah. It which was a good learning experience. So, but yeah, no, it was my kids kind of went, when I told them that story, they just kind of went, what? It was like, yeah, he's, just
a few years later than that, but I remember distinctly when so it was 85, we're going to National Jamboree. My dad had known Hans Fluler for a few years. He was the one that helped put the Eagle Center together, the commemorative rifle. He was one of my dad's really good friends, and he was Swiss Canadian. And that summer, my sister went on went with Juno Douglas. Girls had asked her to go with them on a trip to Europe to play basketball over the summer. And so Hans thought that was very unfair that Sarah got to go to Europe and I didn't. He didn't realize I was going on like this 2.5, 3 week scout trip to National Jamboree.
Sure.
And he thought I still needed to do that. So I left like a day and a half early from Jamboree. Sam's dad, Steve, gets me in a bus. We're at Fort A.P. Hill, Virginia. He drives me into town with some other people. I have no idea how, but drops me off at this place, watches me get on like this airporter style bus, and he's like, see ya. So I think it's Reagan National now, but I had 6-7 hours before my flight. So I'm just wandering the airport until my flight. And the one distinct memory I have of that is this one lady had these just two giant, they looked like giant poodles, but they're just huge. The heads were up like 4.5 feet off the ground. Just these tall, huge dogs walking. I'm like, how are you taking those on the plane? But anyhow, so I get on my flight there, go to LaGuardia, have a couple hour layover, fly to Zurich, Switzerland. And one guy there, he'd been hunting the year before, he'd been here hunting with Ron Martin.
Okay. But
the people that I was going to go with, I'd never met him before.
Yeah.
And so he was an executive, the Alleman family, who's executive with Swiss Air.
Okay.
They meet me at the gate, and there I am in Switzerland. And my parents no cell phone. They're like, have a good time. Let us know when you get there.
It was a different time. It was just.
And then when I was coming back, they just put me on a plane to Boston. Hans met me in Boston.
Yep.
Went up to his place in Montreal, and I think it was Montreal to Toronto. I had to switch planes in Toronto and then Vancouver. And my parents and sister picked me up in Whitehorse and down to Haines. Like, who would do that?
Yeah. No, it was definitely a different time. But I remember the Alaska Airlines. You'd fly Seattle to Juneau, and you'd have silverware, a hot meal.
Oh yeah,
it was comfortable.
Yep,
and
they're smoking.
And they were smoking. Yeah. So
that always cracked me up. The smoking section, the non-smoking section.
Yeah,
I was like,
it's all the same air.
You're in this tube. Really? You get the further back that you are from the smoking, the less smoke you get. But
right.
It's like if the smoking section goes to row 8, row 9 is still the smoking section.
Well, yeah, I still remember, at restaurants in Seattle as a kid playing with the cigarette dispensing machines.
Okay. Yep.
Put a couple quarters in, and you can get, and they're right there in the lobby.
Right.
Yep. It's like, times have changed. So, but no, it was always interesting growing up here and getting involved in things like the Catholic Church too. Dad oversaw the building of that, and he designed that church and the existing church. Because at that time, there was a lot of people in the Catholic Church. There was the big.
Well, and the
big
original
families.
Catholic Church was tiny.
It was tiny.
There was hardly any space
Yeah.
in that at all.
Yeah. The priest, when we first came here, was my grandmother had been his housekeeper in Seattle.
Really?
And he recognized my mom, and when we first showed up, he said, "Oh, Claire Mustasich is Father McHugh," and so we were involved with that, and that was I spent one summer helping build that the existing church, but it was pretty. There were some big families back then too. The Price family, the Hannon family, the Taylors. I mean, the Hertzes too. It was like you'd show up for Sunday service, Sunday mass, and it was a packed house.
Yep.
And so we wound up building that. We actually went over to the old Indian school that was over in Skagway and harvested a lot of stuff. Typical Alaskan thing.
Yeah.
It had been closed down in the early 60s, and so the Archbishop had allowed us to go over and take doors and a bunch of stuff, the pews from there, and bring them over and use it here in this church. So we the stained glass windows in the sanctuary there are from.
They're from Skagway.
From Skagway.
I had no idea.
That was one of the adventures of the summer, was going over there several times on the ferry, and Harold Hannon, the Hannon family, that was another big family, but so he had a big flatbed truck, and we'd go over there and grab what my dad thought we needed to help build the church. So, but we did find the safe, and we were authorized to take the little safe, and it was the funniest thing. It's just classic gold filigree design on it, and the inner door was key lock was shut, but the door was open, and you could shake it. I mean, it was 300 pounds, but you could move it, and you hear all this rattling. So we push it up onto the truck and get it over here, and push it off the truck and drill out the lock, and thinking, man, I wonder what's in there. It was toothbrushes. So obviously, dental care was priority.
We got to put the toothbrushes in the safe.
But it was hundreds of toothbrushes.
Seriously.
Yeah. So, but I still have the safe, actually. We took the back of the door off and were able to figure out the combination, and so that was kind of fun. But for some reason, somebody, when the school was shut down, decided that
better safeguard the toothbrushes.
The toothbrushes. So, but yeah.
So this is way off topic, totally changing the subject here. You're a train guy, grew up on Mercer Island. What do you think about the train going across?
The light rail?
Light rail going across I-90 now.
Pretty cool.
You going to take a trip down to just go across I-90 on that?
Yeah, I'm thinking about doing that. I've got friends there still, and from childhood that are still on the island there, and I might have to make a run over there. So.
I've thought about that. If I get down to Seattle,
Yeah.
I might have to take a run across on that.
Yeah.
Or even if you got a long layover at the airport, just kind of time it. I was like, okay, can I get to Bellevue and back?
Yeah.
And on that. And
I had never really understood, never really given much thought to the fact, that bridge is moving all the time. So, having a fixed rail on it is not really going to work very well, But a train needs
a
fixed rail.
First one ever on a floating bridge.
So
so far it seems like it's been 2 weeks now that it's been running,
yeah.
and it seems like it's been fairly steady. Of course, it's not the middle of winter either when you got high winds and
Yeah. Well, I mean, I still think back to the time when that bridge went down, was sunk.
I was in college when that thing sunk.
So I remember. It's funny. I was actually at Providence Hospital getting my final surgery done on my hand, and it was a November storm, and the news came on that the Hood Canal floating bridge sunk, and I never really considered that the I-90 could sink.
Would sink.
And so I'm up here. When was that? It must have been like
90 or 90. I can't. 89, 90.
Yeah,
I can't remember what year it was. I was in college, but because they're putting the new lanes across. They're building a new one and
refurbishing the other
one, and then
Yep. And I heard on the news, like, holy crap, that's the one I used to take to high school every day, you know? And like, so, but yeah, so it's it is much different than when I used to drive that. But
it's plush now.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, with the 520 right by campus,
Yeah.
that's the one we usually took.
Which
if we're going to
rebuilt
the east
too.
side anyhow.
Yeah.
That one's brand new. Yeah, like you said,
Yeah.
it's brand new. And so, but I was hesitant. There's times it would have been quicker to take 90 and then come north on I-5 back to the UW if we're over in Bellevue or whatever. I was like, yeah, we can take 405 up to 520. I don't know if I need to have that. It's like this thing sank once. I don't know if I'm sure they're on top of it, but I'll let them check it out a little bit longer before I trust it again.
Yeah, no, it's really changed down there. A lot of improvements, but a lot more traffic too. So I flew into one time flying into Seattle. I look out and I go, why are we that far out from downtown Seattle? And I realize, oh, that's Bellevue.
It's Bellevue.
You know,
Yep.
Back in the day when I was a kid, we'd be picking pumpkins for Halloween off of I-90 there, just south of Bellevue, and that ain't the case anymore. So,
Nope.
but,
A lot of change.
yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much my life.
So what have I missed? What should have I asked you and I didn't, Tom?
I don't know. It's a good.
Are there any deep dark secrets there that just looking to unburden yourself with?
Not
or
really.
Fun new facts that we've forgotten?
Other than I was briefly in politics here, but
You were. We served together on the city council.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. The final council
The final council before consolidation, we voted ourselves out of a
out
job.
of office.
Yep.
And we were complimented on doing that, and to this day, I kind of wonder if maybe it wasn't such a good idea. But
I think when people ask me that, if I still think it was a good idea,
yeah,
I'm hesitant as well on whether it was the best idea. But I think one of the things that really set us back was when Marco Pignalberry, who was our city manager, became borough manager. He passed away like within 2 months of after consolidation started, and then just trying to find a new borough manager took a while. There was a lot of lag there, and you're trying to consolidate everything, and not having that strong direct leadership during that process, I think really set us back on that, and I don't think we've recovered since then.
And it's like the whole. I didn't think that the naming of the new borough was going to be that critical.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I never realized that the city and borough would be a better naming than just doing Hainesboro. And I naively thought things would be more efficient, but that doesn't happen with bureaucracy. But
the one advantage is we're no longer suing ourselves.
Yes, that's true. But we are getting sued by a lot more.
We're getting sued by other people, but we're not suing ourselves.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking, I think it was when I was in office on the assembly. I know there's the one with Haines Sanitation where the borough, but I thought there was somebody mentioned there was a second. I can't remember which one what it was, but I just remember going back and forth, and because the borough and the city were suing each other over.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is ridiculous.
And having two levels of government for 2,500 people did seem a little ridiculous,
But like what most people we haven't cut back the level of government. It's kind of expanded. It's just under one roof now instead of two.
Two, yeah. And actually, it was under one roof at the public safety building for many years. But So it needed to be done, and we just need to keep working it out.
So there's a retirement job for you. Tom Andriesen for mayor.
No. You were great. I got the utmost respect for what you went. You had a tough
Tom
tenure.
Andriesen for assembly. Tom, we can get you back in there. You did a good job.
No, I don't know. Thank you, but
it's not a lot of fun though. Oftentimes, is it?
No, I mean.
I've always enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Every time I've enjoyed it, but for me, it just each time that I've either been on the city council, planning commission, briefly, mayor, it just I think if you care about it, it takes a toll.
Yeah. And you get informed on on whatever the topic is, and you look at it and you say, these are the pros. You think, what's the pros, what's the cons? This is my decision, and that's the best you can do, and let's move on to the next thing,
but not everybody wants to. I think one of the issues is not everybody wants to move on.
Yeah,
there's things that we just keep relitigating.
I think human nature fears change too.
Yeah. Oh,
and
absolutely.
I think that's the only concrete thing in life is that change.
Everything's going to change.
Everything's going to change.
It's the one constant. It's the one thing we fear the most.
Yep. And if you got to be able to be flexible to adjust to it, or else you're not gonna thrive. You're not gonna. Yeah. You gotta be willing to accept change and work through it. So I mean, you've seen it in real resale here with how things change and.
Well, and just the demographics in the community, compared to what it was when my dad first started in the 70s. And I remember there with the sawmills and stuff, there's a new gun would come out, and he'd have it on the way, and the guys would put their name in for drawing to draw who got to buy the first one that came in.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's limited on how soon you could get it in. And there's so many people that wanted to buy them.
Yeah.
So the old store, that 24 by 40 building, that thing would just be packed with all these guys from the sawmill and the loggers and stuff. Yeah. I remember being there and just before he closed to draw the name, because he was waiting for them to get off work. Yeah. Draw who got to, and then the guys were like, "Oh, dang it, Joe," or whatever. They'd be all ticked off that he was the one that got it. But so or the talking about Chilkoot, 70s, 80s. Campers lined up on both sides, down by the bridge is totally packed with RVs that are there for weeks or months at a time, and just people fishing all summer long down there. And people talk crowding out there now, and it's when you bring a tour bus out there, it gets crowded. But otherwise, the amount of visitors that are out at Chilkoot compared to what they were 30, 40 years ago, it's nothing. Hardly anybody out there.
Yeah. I always enjoyed driving up to the head of the lake too. That was always fun. But
going back on the logging road behind there. Road. Oh yeah, that was You
start thinking back of what changes have happened around here. I use the tank farm at Tanini Point as a reference, and people go, "What tank farm?" And it's just like, well, that was the fuel pipeline to Fairbanks. There was a fuel pipeline? You mean the Alaska pipeline? And it's like,
so my cousin Scott gave my mom a DVD of when him and his sister came to Alaska when I think he was 8 years old.
Okay.
So 68, I think, was when they came up here. And so a couple Sundays ago, we're at Sarah's, and we're watching it, and they were taking a flight to Skagway, and they had the film of the tank farm, and all the kids were like, so that's why they call it the tank farm. I was like, yep. A whole bunch of big petroleum tanks.
It was always the first thing you see coming up from Juneau. You'd be on the ferry, and that's what you'd see is big white tanks. It was the first thing you'd see, and it's funny how things are no longer here that were just commonplace. The tanks down by the Tasted Dayshoe, the fuel depot there, and the barges that would come in there to offload fuel, and
even across from the post office. Those just got removed recently, just a couple of years ago. But that was big time fuel depot for a long time as well.
And those headers were out on the old Port Chilkoot dock
coming up to it. Yeah.
But and I remember when they were building the breakwater for the harbor. We were watching that. As a young kid, it was always fun to watch I still like watching heavy equipment. But I'd run down there with my lunch and sit there and watch them, dumping rock and building the breakwater. So
we had a guy that was a younger guy with the A-frame up above our old house where DeWitts are at now. Yeah. My parents rented it out to him that summer, apparently, because he was working for Southeast Road Motorsports, because I think they're bringing the rock out of 4 Mile there for it. I think. I could be wrong. but my grandpa Hub, and so that he got fired, and my grandpa was asking him, and he's like, well, he'd had something had happened with the truck, and then the second time a rock came down and hit the truck, and he's like, it's not my fault. And my grandpa just went off on him about, you're the driver, you're supposed to be looking for these things. Grandpa didn't have any, he was looking for some sympathy, I think. And he's like, yeah, you're not getting it here. I was just a little kind so I was what, 75 or 76 they built that?
Yep.
So I'm 7 years old.
76, yeah.
So I'm 7 years old, and I'm looking at that, I was like, oh, you poor dude. You don't understand what you were getting into when you came in here with that complaint.
I remember Hub. In fact, Hub dug the foundation for our little house there on Beach Road. Yeah. We got some creosote piling, and he dug some trenches there for us, and one-armed backhoe operator.
He did a lot with one arm.
Yeah,
that always amazed me. The things that I thought, my mom and I interviewed my mom, and when we were talking about him, there's so many things that I thought would be easy in life, because watching my grandpa do it with one arm.
Yeah.
And then when I tried doing it, was like, the hell? This is really hard. I got two arms. He makes it look so easy.
So easy. And then, I'm sure you kind of remember, it's like, it seemed like there was a lot of characters back then. I mean, that people had, they were very individual, and, like Duck. I mean, he's one of a kind, and Hub and Carl Heinmiller. I mean, World War II veteran, missing fingers and an eye from World War II. It's just like, there were some real character people here, and everybody was missing fingers. I mean,
they're missing something.
Yeah,
they're missing body parts. My grandpa's missing an arm, but fingers, parts.
Yeah.
That was not uncommon.
No,
not uncommon at all.
I fit right in.
You're just trying. That's why you did that.
Right.
This wasn't an accident. You wanted to fit in with everybody. Peer pressure, Tom.
Right.
It was all peer pressure. But that's another one, Carl Heinmiller. You look at the different things that he did.
Yeah.
He was a magistrate, but with Alaska Indian arts and the Chilkat dancers and the stuff that he was promoting, kind of reinvigorating the native culture, but then also looking at the tourism aspect of that, on bringing things in. And I forget who I was talking to the other day about, the Chilkat Center. It was with Michael Marks and stuff. We were interviewing him and about how much the use of the Chilkat Center used to be, because during the summer you'd have the Chilkat dancers there at least once a week. You'd have Lust for Dust a few nights a week, and so it's just all summer long there's something going on, performance of some kind at the Chilkat Center.
I was in Lust for Dust for several seasons. Would do that. My sister and I, and Matt Jones, and
what role did you have?
I did Sergeant Just in Time.
Sergeant Just in Time.
Yeah, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Yeah, so bunch of our friends my sister and I and our friends were kind of in that group for a couple of seasons, I think, if I remember right. And but it was It was
my favorite part. I don't know if he was doing it when you did it, but kind of when my age group was going through, and we'd go watch all the time. Go watch our friends. But Ray Menaker.
Oh yeah, he
reading beforehand, reciting.
Yep. And then the sing along too.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was classic.
And Ray was just such a character, and you could see it even in White Fang, because he's in that too. But he was great. I enjoyed working with him. But my dad was involved. He wound up dancing with the Chilkat dancers for several.
Okay.
Towards the late '80s, he was dancing. He was the Kustika.
Okay.
So in fact, I still have his mask. But Mom and him got adopted into the clan through Charlie Jimmy. So. And that was something my dad was always really interested in. It was the native art, the form line, and he really studied that a lot, and would produce pieces too of that. So, Carl Heinmiller, man, that guy was that's some history there. So.
Yeah, he was really involved in scouts too. And
Yep.
It was kind of intimidating because you'd have. for certain merit badges, we'd go see him, like some of the citizenship ones and stuff.
Yep.
And you'd go meet in the courthouse.
Oh, yeah.
And so, after school, you'd have an appointment with Carl Heinmiller. You go in, and whoever's clerk is, it's like you're going into the judge's chambers here to work on a merit badge, and you just kind of feel guilty that he's like, hope nobody saw me come in here and think I'm in trouble with the law.
Yeah, wasn't Mimi Gregg the clerk?
I think it probably was Mimi.
I think she was.
Yeah.
I
don't remember who the clerk was,
Yeah.
but I remember checking in, and then Carl would come on in and go into his office there, and he'd quiz you on the stuff that you're supposed to know, give you need to work on this, or this needs to be better or something. Come back in 2 weeks and
that's great.
go back there, but going into the judge's office.
Yeah. And that was fun with the driving tour bus. We'd always stop at Alaska and Indian Arts and check out what was going on in there with the carving. And people loved that. Was a great stop. Mm-hmm. But, and the museum was great. Gave me a chance to look at more history here. So, but it's. They wound up paving Lutak the next year after we did the film, and it's just like, why couldn't they have done that, a year before?
You could look at this, that you're responsible for it, because you bringing all that traffic out there got enough complaints that they're like, we're going to have to pave this.
It got bad. It was really bad.
Well, it was never the greatest to begin with, regardless of how much traffic. I mean, you'd go out there unless they had recently bladed it.
Yeah, it was bad.
It was bad.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we wound up spent 2 weeks filming the night scenes there up in the Chilkoot Lake campground, and of course it was an early spring. It was a warm February, and we had to have Kenny Waldo come in and start blowing snow in because it was melting so fast. And it's like, really? Meanwhile, when they were building the sets in December and January, it was
it was blizzard cold.
But yeah, that was, and so we had to wind up having to regrade that campground, and obviously we also took out some of the little sight posts and had to put in a whole new set of those. That was kind of the stuff I wound up having to make sure happened is that the areas were put back the way they were supposed to be, and that whoever the landowner was satisfied with everything.
With the work.
Yeah. But no, and then just like another change is the current highway. I mean, very few people remember the hairpin turn at Rainy Hollow, and how much the road is so much nicer than it used to be. Porcupine Spur,
gravel all the way to Whitehorse.
Yeah.
I mean, that was.
But I remember when must have been I think it was 1980. We're driving to Whitehorse. We have a flat tire at Muncaster Creek. And I kind of thought to myself, man, we're a long ways out of town. This is pretty quiet out here. And now it's like, oh, no big deal,
Muncaster's not that far anymore.
No, there's a bunch of homes around there, and it was a different time for sure. So, but yeah.
Well, we had the privilege of living through it.
Yeah, we survived.
Made it through.
So, but you were saying too about the demographics. Yeah, I mean it's the demographics have definitely changed. But
it used to be a logging and fishing town.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the timber industry here for a long time. That was huge, and the fishing industry. Yep. Those are the two main drivers of the economy.
And there's always been the government stuff with the border station and the tank farm going and at the time, but the DOT maintenance with the highway and it's amazing that there was that much stuff going on, and it was still a very small population too. I mean, I do miss all the old fishing boats along Beach Road.
Yeah. They're always all of them. That row of them pulled up there, and your dad did a lot of artwork with those.
Did a lot of artwork.
He had a lot of those that were. You see those occasionally. The one we've got from your dad, I think my mom's got a couple, but I think the one because he did one with the Pappy Frost in front of Beach Road there.
Yep.
And since that was my dad's boat, and Scott Pattison was fishing it at the time, and so I think we all have my mom and dad still have that at the house with your dad's deal with the Pappy Frost.
For many seasons, the Pacific Queen would be in front of our place there and pitching fish, and my dad did a great one of that with all the different boats
around it,
going around it, and don't see that anymore. But that was my dad did a lot of those, and I still go into people's homes here, and it's just like, oh yeah, there's one of his, and there's some of his prints at 33 Mile, and the menu cover of the Bamboo Room was one of his.
Yep.
And, the artwork is still out there, so I've still got quite a bit of his prints in my workshop, which I'm not sure what I'm going to do with them, but that's probably what my retirement is going to be. It's going to be to clean out my workshop of decades of stuff.
Make a return trip to Sitka,
to
Skagway, go around to the shops. Like, a couple years ago I was here.
Yeah, just a couple of years ago.
I talked to Joe. Is he still here?
No, he's been dead for 40 years. Oh.
Who should I talk to now? We had a great relationship back in the day. I've got some updated product here for you.
You're probably familiar with a lot of salesmen that come through. It's like, oh yeah, I got this great thing to sell you, So, but no, he definitely, his artwork really kind of captured a particular time too, in at least in this community. But he did a lot of the pictures of the cannery too, the bunkhouses that were right by the turn there by the cannery, and. Definitely encapsulated that time period. So
here's a thought for you. Do you have enough prints to put together a book?
Yeah, actually, I probably do. I probably should do something like that.
I'm going to try and find like a coffee table book or something like that. Yeah. The works of Pete Andreessen.
Yeah, my daughters actually, when they're in high school, were kind of doing the business. They put together some of the note cards and would sell them to some of the gift shops around town, and they were doing pretty well with it. But I'd like to actually try and put together something like that. And that'll be a good retirement thing. I'll have to look
when you start digging into the prints, let me know. I'd like to come over because there might be some because I think Sam would probably attest to this too, that our childhood, there weren't many houses you went into that didn't have a Pete Andreessen print or more.
It was he did a lot of stuff. He kept pretty busy. He kept going. So, and he wound up. He continued to do drawings, artwork. When they finally moved down to Anacortes, and we're there finally, and because they left here and moved to Hyder because Haines was getting too big. So it was one of those things where I just happened to stop by for dinner with Lisa. By that time we were dating, and so we stopped by and the place on Beach Road, and they said, well, we found a buyer for the house, and I went, you mean
this house?
And because they'd always been saying once Dad retired, they were going to live here year round, And I said, didn't you think about offering either my sister or me an opportunity to step into this property? It's like, oh, I didn't. You've got your place over on Cemetery Hill, and Karen's established down in Seattle. You guys wouldn't be interested in this. Like, come on, waterfront view.
Yeah, no, this would suck to live here. The built his house in our yard and before put it up here. Kind of been involved. There's some history here.
I put a lot of sweat equity with your dad in on this property, and they go, why are you interested? And I said, well, I don't know how I'd swing it. I've got a mortgage on the other place and stuff like that, So I said, is there any way that the guy that put escrow payment down would be willing to step out of it? I'll offer you match what he's doing. And and they go, well, we'll talk to him. And the guy was nice enough to back out. But, and so I wound up selling my place to my girlfriend, actually, because her mortgage payment was less than it was at that time.
Than her
less
rent?
than her rent.
Okay.
Back in the day when that actually penciled out. And so she was living there, and I was able to put a down payment on our place now. And as things turned out, I wound up marrying my girlfriend.
You ended up marrying your girlfriend, so
got that house back. Brilliant real estate.
I was going to say this. I don't know if this real estate venture of yours works for everybody, Tom.
Right. It only really works one time.
It worked well for you.
So, but anyways, yeah. So So and then I was like, well, where are you guys going to go? And it's like, oh, Haines is too big for us. We're going to go down to Hyder. And it's just like, really?
All right.
They increased the population there by 2%, I think. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I never did make it down there when they were alive. They would spend summers there and then go back down to Anacortes for the winters. But we wound up, my wife and daughter, we did a trip down the Alcan and then came up the Cassiar a couple summers ago and dropped into Hyder. And I could definitely see that he built 2 places down. He was a serial builder. He loved building things. So there was 2 little small cabins that he had built down there, and it's like I know his style. So it's like, yep, that's one of his.
That was one of his.
That's one of his. Stopped into the gift shop and
did they have some cards there from him?
Well, yeah, I actually had stuck the magnetic sign, their business, Silver Bear Sales, on the side of the car and for the trip up, because it was after my dad had passed, and so we were down in Seattle. That my sister's going through all their stuff and bringing some stuff back with us, and so the owner went, Silver Bear Sales is Pete and Claire, and it's like, well, I'm their son, and it's like, oh, they were such great people. Sorry, I heard that they passed away and stuff like that. And it's like small town.
Small towns.
They liked the little small town, but man, Hyder was not someplace I'd like to wind up in. That
was a little too small for your taste?
Little dark and gloomy, but it was also kind of a rainy day. So, but yeah. So they eventually did have to leave Alaska permanently and be down in Anacortes, but full time. But yeah. So yeah, but he continued. They were starting tourism down there in Hyder too, that when they first started going there, the ferry would go in there, and then once in a while one of the Cruise West little boats would pop in there and stuff like that. And then of course Mom helped at the gift shop there, and they got involved in various fundraising things too. So yeah, growing up like you, it's like your family's got involved in the stuff going on in the community, and you were just expected to get in there and help out too, So, but yeah, it's good learning experience. So, yeah, I think I've become I'm knowledgeable in a lot of things, but a master of nothing. So,
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, so that's pretty much my life.
So I appreciate you sharing it with us, Tom.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, I think it's great people get to see another side maybe that they haven't seen before.
Yeah, well, just the lumberyard guy.
Just the lumberyard guy that's got a really cool backstory.
The helpful hardware guy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we can help you out. Which way did you come in?
Awesome. Well, thanks, Tom. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Good talking to you.
Thanks for watching this episode of Doug Has Questions. Just a reminder, if you've enjoyed the conversation today, please like, subscribe, and we're available on YouTube if you want to watch us. If you just want to listen, it's on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and you have new episodes being launched every Thursday. So thanks again for watching or listening and following us. We appreciate your support.